I found out my dad had a secret second family, so I showed up at their Thanksgiving dinner. My dad's always been a private man. Growing up, he never shared much about his job, just that he was a regional logistics manager for a packaging company, which honestly could mean anything. But it explained the long hours, the business trips, the weekends he was called in. My mom never questioned it, at least not out loud. She's the quiet type, old school. She worked part-time at the library, made casseroles for potlucks, and believed in loyalty even when things didn't make sense. I'm 22 now, freshly out of college and living back at home in Fairfield, Connecticut, to save money while looking for a better job. My relationship with my dad has always been functional, not warm, not cold, just there. But last November, everything changed. My car was in the shop and I needed to run a few errands, so I asked if I could borrow my dad's car. He paused just for a second before saying yes. That hesitation should have told me something. Later that afternoon, while adjusting the passenger's seat, I noticed something wedged deep under it. A red envelope, crumpled a bit. I pulled it out. It was a Thanksgiving card. To the best dad in the world. Can't wait to see you next week. Love, Maddie. I blinked. Maddie? I flipped the envelope. There was a return address written in neat, loopy handwriting. A town in New Jersey I didn't recognize. I ran a quick search on my phone. The house belonged to a Laura Bennett. No mention of a Maddie, but the address was legit. We don't know anyone in New Jersey. We don't have relatives there. And Maddie wasn't a name I'd ever heard my dad say. I told myself it was probably just some kid from work, maybe a coworker's daughter who gave him the card as a thank you. But the handwriting was too familiar, the tone too personal. I don't know what possessed me, but that weekend, I drove down. It was a quiet suburban street, neatly trimmed lawns, white fences, the kind of place where people still leave pumpkins out a month after Halloween. I sat in my car, just watching the house. I was about to leave, feeling stupid for coming when I saw her. A woman, maybe early 40s, brunette, ponytail glasses, came outside with a rake. Behind her, a girl, maybe 10 or 11, bounced down the steps, holding a trash bag full of leaves. Then my dad's car pulled into the driveway. He got out smiling, relaxed, like a man arriving home. The woman greeted him with a kiss on the cheek. Maddie, I'm assuming it was her, ran up to hug him. He lifted her effortlessly, the way dads do when they're used to it. My breath caught in my throat. He looked happy, different, not like the man I knew. He looked whole. I didn't get out of the car. I couldn't. I drove back to Connecticut in silence. I barely slept that night. My mind raced with possibilities. Maybe I had it wrong. Maybe it was someone who looked like him. The next day, I checked his calendar. Sure enough, business trip, Jersey office. So I started watching. For 2 weeks, I tracked everything. Every Tuesday and every other weekend, he was in Jersey. I'd ask casually, "How was the trip?" And he'd answer like clockwork, long or typical. No detail. Nothing suspicious on the surface. But once you know, you start seeing the cracks. Receipts in his wallet from stores I'd never heard of. A second phone charger in his briefcase. And that weird habit he had of checking his phone when he thought no one was looking. Now I noticed it every single time. The rage hit slowly, not all at once. First, it was disbelief, then confusion, then a deep, crawling anger I couldn't shake. I wanted to tell my mom, but what did I even say? Hey, I followed Dad to another state and found out he has a second family. Pass the potatoes. No how. I needed to be sure. I needed to confront him. Or maybe confront her. And then I remembered the card. Can't wait to see you next week. Thanksgiving. Of course, I made a plan. Thanksgiving morning came with that strange, nostalgic quiet. The smell of cinnamon from the kitchen, my mom humming while she cooked, the dog lying belly up in the sun. My dad had left early, said he was meeting a client for breakfast. No one raised an eyebrow. That was just him. I said I'd meet my friend for lunch and be back in time for dinner. My mom smiled, none the wiser. God, that hurt more than anything, knowing what she didn't know. But I didn't go see my friend. I drove 2 hours, almost without blinking, until I reached the house in New Jersey. This time, I didn't hesitate. I parked, got out, walked right out the driveway, heart pounding, legs shaking. Before I could knock, the door opened. Maddie stood there, holding a plate of cookies. She blinked up at me with wide brown eyes that looked too much like mine. "Hi," she said, unsure. Behind her, that same woman appeared. "Laura?" She gave me a polite, guarded smile. "Can I help you?" I opened my mouth and nothing came out. My throat had locked up. My heart slammed against my ribs. I swallowed hard, then said, "Hi, I think I'm supposed to be here. I'm James's daughter." Her smile faltered, completely vanished. "Excuse me." I looked at Maddie, then back to Laura. "I'm from Connecticut. He's my dad." I exhaled, trying to steady myself. I found a card from Maddie, and I followed the address. For a second, there was complete, stunned silence. Then Maddie asked, "You're my sister." Before anyone could respond, I heard the voice. "Melissa?" My dad. He was standing at the base of the stairs, holding a casserole dish, eyes wide, face pale. He looked like someone had pulled the earth out from under his feet. "Dad?" I said flatly. Laura turned to him, slowly. "James," she said in a tone I'd never heard anyone use with my dad before. Not anger, not confusion, just pure disbelief. He looked from her to me to Maddie. "Everyone inside," Laura snapped. She ushered Maddie toward the living room without taking her eyes off my father. Then she pointed at me. "You, stay." She stepped out onto the porch and closed the door behind her. Then it began. "Who are you?" she said. "What is this?" "I told you," I said, my voice shaking. "I'm his daughter." "His other daughter." Her lips parted, but no sound came. She leaned against the wall like she needed support to keep from collapsing. "How long?" she finally asked. I shrugged. "My whole life, apparently." Tears started to form in her eyes. "He said he worked weekends, that he had to travel. He never stayed long. I just thought she trailed off." I looked down. I didn't know what to say. "I didn't come here to hurt you," I said quietly. I needed to see it for myself, to know I wasn't crazy." Just then, the door opened again. My dad stepped outside. "Melissa, get in the car," he said, voice low, trembling. "No," I replied. Laura looked at him like he was a stranger. "You said you were divorced," she whispered. "Laura, I can explain." She laughed. Not a funny laugh, a broken one. "No, Dottie. No, you can't." He turned back to me. "You don't understand." "No, you don't," I snapped. "You had two families, two lives. I spent years wondering why you were always gone, why you missed birthdays. And now I know. You were here, with them." His face crumpled. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." I laughed bitterly. "How was it supposed to happen, Dad? I'd just die before I found out." Silence again. Then Laura stepped back. "I need you to leave," she said to both of us. "No, I'm so sorry," I told her. "And I meant it." She didn't respond. My dad followed me to the car. I was already unlocking the door when he grabbed my arm. "Please," he said, eyes desperate. "Don't tell your mother." I stared at him. That was what he cared about? His secret? His image? I yanked my arm away. "She deserves to know." Then I got in the car and drove off. Not home. I wasn't ready. I pulled into a gas station half an hour later and just sat there in the parking lot, trying to breathe. Everything I thought I knew about my family was unraveling. And Thanksgiving? It was ruined forever. I didn't go home that night. Instead, I checked into a cheap motel off the highway. I didn't even take off my shoes. I just lay there on the bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to process what had just happened. My dad had a whole second life, a second family, a child, and he chose to lie to everyone for over a decade. My phone buzzed twice, once from him, once from an unknown number, maybe Laura. I didn't answer either. In the morning, I drove home in a fog. The familiar houses on our street looked fake now, like a movie set. My hands shook as I turned the key in the front door. My mom was in the kitchen, still wearing her Thanksgiving apron. The turkey carcass was in a foil-covered pan on the counter. She looked up, smiling. "There you are. You missed dinner." I sat down at the table. "I need to tell you something." Her smile faltered. "What is it?" "It's about Dad." I told her everything. Not all at once, I couldn't. I choked my way through it. From the card I found to the house in New Jersey, to Maddie, to Laura, to Thanksgiving, to his reaction. She didn't interrupt. She didn't cry. She just stared at me, hands clasped together like she was praying. When I finished, there was a long silence. Then she asked the quietest question I've ever heard. "How old is the girl?" 10 and maybe 11. Another pause. Then with a voice like glass cracking. "So it started before you were even in high school?" I nodded. "Yeah." She stood up, took off her apron and walked to the sink. She didn't say anything else. She didn't need to. That night, she slept in my room. I heard her crying softly under her breath, trying not to wake me. That sound, I'll never forget it. My dad came home the next morning. My mom didn't speak to him, not a word. She handed him a suitcase, not packed, just empty. "I think it's time for you to go," she said, apologizing, begging. But she was calm, colder than I've ever seen her. "I'll talk to a lawyer after the weekend," she said, voice flat. He looked at me like I might help, like I'd rescue him. I didn't. I stood there and watched him walk out. The fallout was messy. Of course it was. Turns out, Laura knew some of the truth. She knew he had an ex. She thought I was from a long-ended marriage. He told her he wasn't close with his first kid. She didn't know he was still married or living two lives. She cut him off completely. Maddie tried texting me once. Just a shy little message. I think we're sisters. God, it broke me. I didn't know what to say. She was innocent. None of this was her fault. We texted a bit after that. Mostly jokes, memes, harmless stuff. I don't know if we'll ever be close. That's a heavy shadow to live under, but she's smart, funny, and weirdly reminds me of myself at her age. My mom filed for divorce quietly. No drama, no screaming. She sold the house and moved to upstate New York to live near her sister. Said she needed a fresh start. I helped her pack. We didn't talk about my dad much. When we did, it was brief. She just kept saying, "Thank you for telling me." He tried to reconnect, left voicemails, sent emails, even wrote a few long letters full of apologies, and I never meant to hurt anyone. I read them, then deleted them. I don't think I'll ever fully forgive him, but I'm working on letting go of the anger. The thing is, when someone betrays you like that, when they fracture your whole sense of reality, you don't just get over it. You rebuild yourself in pieces. I'm starting over too. Got a job in Boston. I moved in with a friend from college. I go to therapy once a week. It helps. Sometimes around Thanksgiving, I still get this pang in my chest. Not for him, but for the version of my life I thought I had. Because that version, it's dead, and I'm learning to live without it. Subscribe for more videos.